everybody, welcome back to Tech Odyssey. So I'm here today to talk about, I don't know, I guess a recent discussion regarding the Pixel 6 Pro, maybe just the Pixel 6 devices in general, maybe even the Pixel devices in general. There's a couple things to unwrap here in this conversation about the Pixel 6 Pro and whether you should buy one, because a guy by the name of MKBHD says he doesn't recommend buying one at $900. In some ways, I agree with him. If you don't know who MKBHD is, he's probably the biggest tech YouTuber on the planet. And this is in no way a snub, a negative way, anything about him whatsoever. But it's a conversation starter because, well, I make Pixel videos. So you're probably wondering, okay, I'm hearing from this guy, the biggest tech YouTuber in the world, you shouldn't buy a Pixel 6 Pro for full price. Doesn't really address the Pixel 6, but mostly the Pixel 6 Pro at an $899 price point. And what do you have also at that price point? The OnePlus 10 Pro, and also I think you can get still the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III for about that price. You can get a S22 for $799 and S22 Plus for $999. There's not a whole lot that falls into that little category right there, but ultimately it's a $900 phone. And I want to talk about this because one of my big pillars of this channel is value. And that's one reason I talk about the Pixel 6 a lot more than the Pixel 6 Pro, because I think the Pixel 6 is a much better value than the Pixel 6 Pro, mostly because you get 95% the same experience for almost most people at a $300 reduced price, and $599, especially when the phone came out, very special because there was nothing really like it out on the market. We've had a couple different things that have addressed this from Samsung, the S21 FE, you look at the A53 series, you look at some other phones coming out. It's not as special now, but it was very disruptive. Looking at the Pixel 6 Pro in a world where flagship phones cost a lot of money, like the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which of course, these are what bounce against each other. That's why you have the Pixel 6 goes against the iPhone 13, or the 13 Pro even. The Pixel 6 Pro goes against the iPhone 13 Pro. So you look at $899, $1,099. You also pit it up against the S22 Ultra, $899, $1,199. So $200 to $300 cheaper than the other two competing flagships out there in the dominating space, at least in the US market. So, at $900, should you buy something that people say has had issues? And I have to say people say because it's really kind of been a mixed bag of some people say it's been perfect, some people say it's not been perfect, some people have taken theirs back, some people have not bought one. There's a really mixed reaction. It's a very controversial phone over the last short 6 months of its lifespan. And I want to unpack that here in this video because here's my thing. I think a lot of the things that he talks about are a little nitpicky, like swiping over to the home screen not being as fluid. I was watching the video that he was like swiping back and forth on the screen, and I'm like, that's a bit much. Two areas I do agree with him are on the Wi-Fi calling and also on the Bluetooth. It's kind of annoying if you're listening to something and you have a disruption in your Bluetooth stream and it causes like a skip, like an old CD track skip. If you know what I'm talking about. If you youngsters don't know what a CD is, go look it up on Wikipedia, compact disc, and you'll learn all about the joys of CD ripping and CDs and the craze that was, whatever we were younger. But when you talk about listening to music, having an unreliable Bluetooth connection, having a Wi-Fi connection that doesn't allow you to make reliable phone calls, those things are important because really, in the age of 2022, we shouldn't be having that problem. I know that Google's tried to resolve that. I think it's resolved it for a lot of people. But again, we've still had some inconsistencies with some people it's fixed, some people it has not. And that, I think, is the most confusing thing. And that's probably what makes this such a polarizing topic. Because some people say that my Pixel 6 or my Pixel 6 Pro is perfectly fine. And you got a lot of those people. Most people say that. And then you still have some people saying, well, this doesn't work. And is that something that you can apply in a larger sample with your Samsung phone or with your iPhone or even with your Sony phone or your OnePlus phone, right? Is that a problem that you have with other phones? Do they have their own little quirks? Not really. That's really not that big of a problem. So it's definitely something, and I think it's more of a sensitive topic with the Pixel phones because the two reasons, I know I talk about usually three reasons, but the two main reasons people typically buy a Pixel phone are the camera and the software. And software can be encapsulated to say software updates, quarterly feature drops, security patches, reliability, faster operating system updates, getting it first, getting the developer betas, all that stuff. So there are a lot of reasons people like the Pixel phone. From a software perspective, they design and build Android software. So they're the authors of Android, and they're also the creator of all of the hardware in that phone, basically. You've got the Tensor chip, which is their own proprietary processor now, Try saying that 3 times fast, 5 times fast maybe. And then also trying to build that online with Android. Android 12 was not a finished product when it came out. And here's the thing, it gave Samsung big problems, it gave OnePlus big problems, it gave Google big problems. There were a lot of problems with Android 12, but a lot of them that are still kind of lingering seem to be specific to the Pixel phone. So there is this higher level of accountability I think people have for the Pixel phones purely for that reason. That was their bread and butter. They messed it up. They messed it up for a lot of people, and now they can't rein in their own phone and get some of these things fixed. I've made several videos recently talking about it's pretty well fixed. I know there are some people, some outliers that are still having some issues. I get that. I'm not going to wrap my head around the axle too much over auto brightness not being the greatest in the world. It's not a particular issue for me, which I'm not saying it's not an issue for you. I don't use auto brightness because I can't stand it. But for people that choose to use it, I could see that being something that's frustrating where the screen brightness also goes up with the flashlight or it's not quite accurate whenever you use it. So that's something that needs to be addressed, obviously. And they've been working on that. It has improved, at least as far as I know. So there are some things that I think are a little nitpicky. There are some things I think are very legitimate, and you're going to get probably different reactions based on who talks about them. Is the phone reliable to use? I think so. I think once they shored up the signal issues, once they fixed a lot of the Wi-Fi issues, I think that it made it to a point, and that was my biggest thing. I was like, look, if you're having phone signal issues, take the phone back and get another one or return it, period. While it's under the return period, or get it fixed under a warranty. You should not be dealing with that. That was a safety issue. You shouldn't be using a phone you can't make phone calls. That's like, look, you need to call 911, you have an emergency, there's things going on. If a phone can't perform phone functions, what is it, right? So I think most of that stuff has been fixed. I haven't had problems with mine. Mine seems to be running pretty well. I know a lot of people's are running pretty well. So my hang up is, should you buy a Pixel 6 Pro? You can. I don't think that it's in a place where it's not reliable enough to buy it. And here's the thing. If you want to buy it, go buy it. If you have issues, take it back. And I've said that from the get-go, but I'm not going to be an apologist for the brand because I don't like them that much. I do like the phone. I like the value, and that's why I talk about it. But the reason I say you might not should buy a Pixel 6 Pro is because I think the Pixel 6 is a much better deal. So the big differences are really only 3. So the Pixel 6 Pro is a telephoto. The Pixel 6 does not. If you care about the telephoto, definitely get the Pixel 6 Pro, but I don't think it's a big deal. I don't miss it at all. The other ones are that the Pixel 6 Pro has a 120 Hz screen, the Pixel 6 has a 90 Hz, and then the Pixel 6 Pro is a Quad HD Plus, and the Pixel 6 has a 1080p. Now there is a battery difference. The battery is 400 milliamps higher on the Pixel 6 Pro, but it needs that because the screen is A, slightly bigger, B, has a faster refresh rate, C, has a higher resolution, which it burns up more battery faster. So at the end of the day, if those things don't matter to you or you don't even realize what those are, save yourself at least $300 and get the Pixel 6, which I think is a great phone. So that's my argument. That's why I don't talk about the Pixel 6 Pro as much, also because I still haven't gotten mine back yet, which I'm crossing my fingers hoping it's still going to get back. We'll see, maybe next week. But also, from an economy perspective, that's why I went and bought this one. That's why when I got the Pixel 6 Pro, I said, I really like the Pixel 6 Pro. Wow, the Pixel 6 looks like such an amazing deal for $300 cheaper. You're telling me that most everything is the same, and I get it. You can get more RAM in the Pixel 6 Pro as well. So you get a larger RAM option as well. I don't want to neglect that, but it's not necessary. It really isn't at all. So I'm a big proponent of this guy right here, the Pixel 6 at $599. And maybe you can make this argument. Some people say, well, it's cheaper, so you can live with more problems. Again, I don't advocate living with any of those problems, but it's on a phone-by-phone basis. It's a very minuscule problem, I think, now, as most of the problems have been fixed. Yes, we had issues October, November, December, January, but once February and March and now April have kind of come around, it's pretty tight ship. Yes, I know there are little things here and there, but it's nothing to where I'm like, oh my gosh, don't buy the Pixel phone. That's my thought process. But yeah, at $899, not so much because of the issues that MKBHD has, which I don't think they're that big of issues other than Bluetooth and Wi-Fi if you're experiencing that problem. But the Pixel 6 is just such a better deal, which is why I hammer on it more because, again, one of the big tenets of this channel, value. And a $599 flagship phone that does basically everything just as well as the Pixel 6 Pro, it's kind of a no-brainer for me if you're looking at a phone, especially for the last couple of months, because it's a very good deal, especially when you compare it to everything else. iPhone 13, $799. S21 FE, $699. S22, $799. This thing basically undercuts everything by $100, $200, $300, and it's $300 cheaper than the Pixel 6 Pro. If the Pixel 6 was like $799 and the Pixel 6 Pro is $899, I'd be like, yeah, go and get the Pixel 6 Pro. That's kind of how it's been historically. Not as big of a price gap between the two, but the Pixel 6 undercut the Pixel 6 Pro by so much it made it almost an obsolete phone in my mind. If I were to go buy one, I wouldn't buy the Pixel 6 Pro. I would buy the Pixel 6. And that's just me. And I care about some of that stuff, but it's just such a good value. I would gladly have 90 hertz instead of 120 hertz if it'll save me $300. So that's kind of how I am. So again, said this in the beginning, not a dig at the guy whatsoever. I'm glad he came back and made a video. I like some of the things he's doing with his channel right now because he's been making more follow-up videos, long-term stuff, well, maybe a little bit anyway, but not so much just, okay, one phone video and then done, move on, talk about something else. He clearly does care about the Pixel line. I'm glad because the Pixel line I think is relevant. I don't want it to see it become the next LG. I don't want to see it become the next HTC. We need to have competition out there. We need Google to step up their game. And yeah, we can look towards the future. The Pixel 6a, I really am concerned about because I think it's going to undercut the other phones even more. I think that they should have just made two models this year. The Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro. Because what you're going to have now is you're going to have a slightly less Pixel 6a, and it's going to ruin Pixel 6 sales, which we're already ruining Pixel 6 Pro sales, probably, at least in my mind, because people see them and they're like, yeah, this is a better deal. So I'm curious to see what the Pixel 6a comes in. If it comes in at $400, $449, and it has the same processor in it, and it has the same 1080p screen, yeah, it might be 60 hertz, that's going to be really hard not to recommend to people. And here's the other thing. A lot of people, or some people, may not care for the Pixel 6 camera. The Pixel 5 camera that's reportedly going to be in the Pixel 6a is a perfectly good camera. It took fantastic photos this last go around. So I don't see that as being a loss. I think it's going to be a really good phone, and I think it's going to turn a lot of heads, and that's going to revitalize that area of the price market as well. So looking back at things, and also I want to address, he says he thinks the Pixels age faster than other phones, and I don't really get that. I was listening to that, I'm like, no, I don't really see that. This has been kind of an issue with these phones, mostly because Android 12 was a dumpster fire, and it compounded the actual problems that the phone had. So this has been a learning curve for a lot of Android manufacturers this go around. I hope we don't see that with Android 13. I hope they get that fixed and they learn their lesson. But the Pixel phones have largely been reliable in the software department for years and years. And to say they age quickly, they come out with new feature updates every quarter. Whenever you get a Samsung phone, you don't really get new features. You might get some refinements, you might get some fixes. When you get an iPhone, you only get a new feature if they promise it at launch, and then later they're like, oh yeah, we're going to go ahead and add it now because we said we would when the phone launched, and ta-da, 6 months later, Deep Fusion is here. Pixel really goes out of their way, and they kind of shape the landscape when it comes to expectations for software and security patches, and demanded change by their actions in Samsung and other manufacturers who are not even around anymore. So I think that Pixel is very reliable in making a consistent experience that they upgrade and give you a better phone. Like the phone you get a year or two from when it comes out is always a better phone than when it launched. And you can't really say that about other phones. So I don't really see that argument with they age faster than other ones. That's not really in my vocabulary when it comes to the Pixel phones. But did it have issues? Yes. Did they fix most of the issues? Yes. Are there still lingering ones that some people might be experiencing on a small scale? Probably. Yes. Is that something that means you shouldn't buy it? No, if you want to go buy it, go buy it. If you have a catastrophic issue or you're having that problem, take the sucker back, and it's a crapshoot whether you get another one that has that problem. But again, not going to advocate for that, but I don't think that you're going to have any catastrophic issues at this point with the Pixel phones. And yes, you're going to keep getting more feature updates and more polishing and more happy as you continue to own the phone. So that's all I've got. Good on him for making that follow-up video. And I don't know, what are your thoughts? Do you think that the Pixel 6 is a lost cause? Do you think people should stop talking about it? Me included. I know I make a lot of Pixel videos, but I do very much think that it's a good phone at a good value for a lot of people. And that's something that you don't see a lot in the smartphone world. They've been very disruptive this year, not just because of the price, not because of just their shenanigans with the software and the bugs, but You get the picture. It's nice having a what seems like a viable number 3 here in the U.S., especially with the OnePlus issues we've had last year as well. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, go down in the comment section. I know we'll talk about it. I'm sure there's one person that probably like 6 people that watch it and they're like, oh my gosh, he hates MKBHD. Not at all. Not a takeaway from this video whatsoever, and I appreciate him starting the dialogue so we can talk about this and have some conversation about a phone that a lot of people feel certain ways about. So, and if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.